Hello, my name is and welcome back to another Fabulous channel. I'm J Books Winner, and this is the spoilerly vlog for Ruthless Ends, the final book in the Marionette series. There will be a spin-off series. I will talk about that at the very end of this video in the outro and stuff, and what I'm going to be doing to cover that series when it eventually does come out. I have a long list of K. Weismer reviews on the channel. I'll link them down below. I also have reviewed every single one of these books, some in a longer form fashion, some in a shorter review fashion, really just depending on the novel. First one, I don't think there's any spoilery vlog for at all. I think it's just talking about some spoilery stuff that happened in it, but mostly a non-spoiler review. In case you have no idea what the Marionette says, we're just going to really jump into it, and then the next two have full spoilery vlogs. The reason why I'm sitting down to do this is because I read the first 50 pages, which is the first like 13% of the book, 12% of the novel, and I figured I could cover some things that I've highlighted. Going forward, I'll probably just update you and talk about journalistic things that I have some thoughts and stuff about, giving a more reactionary type vlog instead of like a sit down talking type vlog, which some of my vlogs have been here recently. Let's go ahead and go through some of my notes that I've had for the past 4 chapters. I have a bunch of notes already to give you guys a heads up. We won't be reading them all because obviously I do this here for me to look down and be like, that's what happened, let's talk about it type of thing. I do tend to read a lot of Katie's lines just because I think she's a really good writer. I can't say I'm super blown away with what I've read so far yet. I would just say that's the thing with the Marionette so far. It's definitely not, like, for me personally, I think Broken and Perfect Lies, the anti-relationship here are like my top 2 favorite Katie Weismer books. They're the books I recommend the most to most people just because I enjoy them. Unless you're a poetry reader, then I avidly recommend their poetry. I think my favorite poetry collection of her is Poems at the End of the World. I avidly recommend all those to you as well, and I do tend to read those every year. I tend to read the entire relationship year every year. It's just become a staple book to read. Normally in February, I didn't read it this year, but I normally do get to it. Marionette just never was that. I'm really hoping it lands the ending. I feel like the last book, I have a whole vlog on it, I won't talk too much about it, didn't really do everything I wanted it to do, and so I'm really hoping this book is. And so far, it's going down more the lines of like a lot of conversations that are happening. There's a lot of info dumping going on, and I'm just not enjoying. I feel like it's not as even as it once was, but we're still I'm only 50 pages in, so still very early on. It opens, the first chapter takes place 2 weeks after the beginning of the novel. It's really interesting. We've not reached there, so I don't know if this entire book takes place in 2 weeks, and so that's towards the end. She's cutting herself, she's drinking a lot. We don't really know why. We do know that her sister is there. We do know that it's kind of a mess and that she's not with Reed. Those are the only like big things that we do know. Then chapter 2 really addresses Anya and what that might mean, or we start to discuss that. We also figure out that Cam is in the estates. We also learn that she bound herself. I don't remember, it could have happened in the 3rd book. It's been a minute since I've read the 3rd book. It could have already happened, but she bound herself to him as well, which I kind of forgot. I don't remember mentioning it in my spoilery vlog, so like I personally don't. I think this is new information, so I wanted to mention it here to Cam. He's having regular check-ins to make sure that he's not doing anything wrong. We learn that a few estates are really accomplished, like really acquainted with vampires, but not fully. Then she ends up having a conversation with the queen. Obviously, their estate has fallen in this whole entire war, and so they're in this other estate, Aurelia or something along those lines. Auclair, I think is how you pronounce it, is where they're at. And she ends up talking to the queen and basically calls her a whore. And we learn that her mother has left, which I think we did know, but we officially know her mother is gone. We also learn that Anya Vasura, which is one of the Russian daughters who eventually take over their estate, is betrothed. So they're not technically engaged, they are betrothed to one another. We learn later on that they've been betrothed since they're like 3, so it's not even like a romantic relationship between them, which makes this a little bit better. It's simply like if you would get married to help, you know, your king and queen because their estate is better, but more likely you both have side hoes on the side. Valerie does not want to be a side hoe and very clearly states that, so they have broken up, or they will be breaking up, or his mother just called her a whore, which I thought was interesting. I enjoyed a romantic line on page 32. He talks more thoroughly about the betroths in chapter 3, which I just kind of went over. He tells her that he loves her, and he tells her that this was never his plan. His never plan to fall in love with her. This is just never what was supposed to happen. And then he just keeps asking, will you please trust me? I'll fix this. eventually she does agree that she does trust him, that he would fix this. More about Can's relationships and stuff we learn. This is the part where I felt very info dumping and very more telling than showing, because there's a line here which I'll read to you on page 42 that states he cares about the people outside the estates, outside the regions. He's here for them, which makes sense. He is going around and helping out all these different regions in these states and things, and so it does make sense that he would care for them. I just, the way it came about and the way it was talked about, and then also the conversation that happened afterwards with the dialogue, it almost seemed like the reader needed to know this information for some of those lines to make sense, and it could have been an added on a rewrite. I don't know. It just didn't flow for me personally very well. I always want to take note of those things. I try to take note about that in almost every book that I do a sit-down spoilerly vlog for. Then we also get the inkling that there is a war that is truly brewing between all the estates. China and Brazil and a few others have also kind of pulled out over the past few years because they don't really like the way it's run, and so they do believe that Westcott is snatching them up. That was Cam's duty, was to go and snatch more people up to recruit for this war, whatever that might mean, and it's just continuing to being shown through. And when we start talking about her sisters and the halflings, she has so many sisters, which we've already talked about. That's something we talked about in the third book, and he doesn't know the reason why, and so I'm sure that's a question that should be answered in this book. She gets back together with Connor, which is what inspired me to be like, I kind of want to react to this. So we're going into a reactionary vlog instead of a sit-down vlog, which was the original plan. The original plan is to update you guys every 50 pages or something like that with a whole bunch of information like I am doing right now, and then going back to reading and reading more 50 pages and so forth. But I have a feeling, just like all Katie Weitzman books, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to update you as I go. He's officially left. We also learned the headmistress of the place that she was at and things is now the queen's right-hand man, or right-hand person. I think that's everything, but the fact she's back with Connor, I mean, it logically makes sense, but it's also just so annoying. I also found it very interesting that she is Connor in this situation. Connor was a secret, something that they would have to hide because she wasn't allowed to be with Connor because he was a human and things, and the way it all worked out and stuff. And so I do find that a nice comparison and a parallel that I enjoy. I just don't know if it truly works for the story, but I do like it. I'll keep you updated as we continue onwards. The book is a little over 420 pages. I want to say 421. My goal tonight is to read about the first 30%, so we will continue to update you as I read the first 30%. There you go. So we got a little bit of some things going on brewing. Valerie is having power troubles. I know from the synopsis, which I briefly read part of, that she is at the peak of her powers in this book, and I'm curious why, and she doesn't know why, and so we're trying to figure that out. The other thing, all the wolves are here that we know, which is great. Weave is here. I'm so happy. The other thing is that his dad is doing kind of like what Divergent did, in a way that I just watched those movies, which was so brief but so much in my head, where he's making people kill themselves for her to come back to the estate. We also think we learned that's where her mother is. It might be a pretty long one. I don't remember the last time I updated you. I've not read much. We're only 26% in, but oh my god, it action packed. So we bounce from before to the future, where she had discovered a note and some type of ring or finger type of thing that had told her that she needs to go back to the Carrington estate to find this book that her mother had, and then, answers will be there, apparently. They believe that her mother or Kawa sent it. They're not entirely sure. The magic feels like Kawa according to her sister and her. They gather everybody together. Daniel's back, whole 9 yards. Everybody's here. Marone and whole 9 yards are here. Marone and Kirby were having intimate time, and her partner videotaped them without her knowing, and so that's being discussed and how to get revenge in that regard. And then she ends up passing into the shadow world. The shadow world is almost like a veil. It's like in between. She realizes she's been there many of a time before. Most importantly, when she teleports, that's like the big thing that she has mentioned. Other things that are important: she can still teleport in the shadow world, so she teleports to that Carrington state. She can enter the Carrington state without being, because it's all protected and stuff because of it being seized by her father. It's pretty empty as well. And then she found a room filled with wendigos after she finds the book inside her mother's room under it's like in a secret place or whatever. She ends up freaking out because the windows can see her. Another thing that can see her in Reed's room or in the lobby type area, there was a man cloaked in black that was looking at her, which I feel like we should take note of for obvious reasons. Then she ends up trying to teleport back. She does end up teleporting back, but the Wendigos end up following her, and yet there's a passage here on page 109. A figure pops up behind her telling her to use the vial. Part of this ritual, she ends up collecting a vial to connect her to all of her friends in case something went wrong, like something did go wrong She's not breathing, whole 9 yards. She does have the book though. And this woman ends up looking exactly like her, and there's quite a few, and they're all telling her what to do. And she wakes up, but we don't really learn anything else past that, so I'm assuming that's going to become a plot point as well. Now she is awoken, and that's where we're at currently. We are ending at 131 pages read. A few more things updated. Looks like Anya is clean. She has nothing really going for her. She looks scared, apparently. Her shadow self, apparently, everybody has one on the other side. I think Us from Jordan Peele was the vibes I was getting. We also learned, because she read the book, she woke up, she read the whole entire book. It's full of these really, really dark magic spells that apparently her ancestors had created. Part of the reason why it's hidden was because you're not supposed to do dark magic. When we're going to explore dark magic, this will be the book, apparently, which makes sense. It's the final book. I wonder if she's going to go evil. I'd like a villain era. I'd be into that. We have a demon is what she thinks her mother had conjured and captured in her room. So that answers that question. I think that's everything for the newest update. I'll tell you guys tomorrow when I read from 30 to 60%. However many pages that is. I'm assuming another 100 or so pages. They're mated. It's not called mates, particularly in this version. This one is called Anthropophathicus. They're mates. Her and Reed are mates. Okay. Don't know how I feel about that. But we will continue onward. I mean, it doesn't physically say she's mates with Reed, but like, if she's mates with Cam, this is going to be a wild twist. Wild. But I guess we'll see. Also, I'd love to know the explanation if she is mated with Cam. But based on how long this person Magnolia has known, I don't really remember Magnolia. I think she was in book 2, which is a bit weird to include characters from so far back that haven't had recurring moments. I think it's in book 2 is where she's from. She is a seer, which is a part almost basically black magic, and we're learning all about it. It's a time. It's bad. I kind of guessed that as well. Once again, we're dealing with the Us scenario. That's the best way to explain it. And it seems like we're going down that pathway as well. So, never see that movie. Sorry, but that's the best way to explain it. Valerie had a dream that she fucked both. Well, that both of them fucked her. It was so realistic. It went from Reed to Cam to Reed to Cam. It was BS. It was a lot, you know, like 4th season of True Blood vibes. Great shit. But like, oh my god, it went on for pages and pages and pages. Like, I was so impressed with the amount of pages that it was. It was so long. Chapter 14, that's where it's at. So I gotta say, oh, it was spicy. It's also weird. Also, like, the way she was talking made me feel like maybe it was a dream, because, like, it doesn't really sound like Valerie in that moment, because we know Valerie, you know, I don't know. It was odd. I can't remember if there's anything else. I was really sidetracked by the extremely long sex scene. Now she's afraid of her magic, which we talked about. Oh, and she's having these thoughts that I guess you could think about Camp as well. Okay, that's everything. All along, now she's in his memories. He's at the Russian estate, and her mother is now possibly getting in contact with her. I'll keep you posted. Amidst everything that we knew we thought was her mother. Tells her that she's always loved her, that this was the only way to do it, to make sure she was alive, to make sure she was in that certain point. And now she wants her to take her father's power and give it to her mother, because she can achieve what her father's goals were before he became power hungry. King is dead. King Lockyear. They don't know how or anything, but he is dead. Reed was attacked by his mom. Valerie broke the teeth that's so significant throughout this entire book that holds all of her age, essentially. They get destroyed. She ends up dying, turning to ash. Now Reed is king because her mom's dead, which I think means they can be together now, because technically it defeats the whole purpose of conjoining. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Now they're talking about doing necromancy. So it's unhinged in a good way. I'm enjoying myself. Down another state, the issue being they could have helped, and then they decided they wouldn't help due to the stuff going on. So thousands of more people have been murdered. Now she's trying to home with her necromancy powers, which I guess would make sense for her being a blood witch, and so that's what she's currently working on with Reed. So Reed is now officially, they went to the coordination of the 9 yards. She's understanding her powers a bit better, which is great. She just realized that maybe she won't be able to achieve what she wants to achieve with them, but she is understanding them much better. At the coordination, there ends up being a huge explosion, and the prince of the person before, he is now dead. It's like Prince Alexei, I think is the name. It's his son. And Nathan, who, like I had told you, was someone who videotaped Marone and her other friend together. We talked about that briefly before. V, which is what they're calling her shadow self, which is her name in the book, did it. Which I found was so fun. She hadn't cut off his head. put it on the wall and then hold it and be like, oh, it was me. Yeah, I'm 55% in. So we'll see how many more updates I give you. The final update for the day is of simpleness. They're threatening to kill her mother, and so she believes that she needs to go to solve this problem. She got a note from Quinn stating that there are ways to get around the issue at hand, and so that she hopefully will be doing that as well. And I'll let you guys know tomorrow when we read the final, I would say 40% of this book together. We have some developments. So Reed was supposed to marry Anya, which we talked about. He's not calling off that engagement, which was shocking. He's now getting married to Valerie, which has not been told to anybody. And we just had another extremely long sex scene, which bringing Cam into the mix so late into the game, and with Connor being in the beginning, and I understand that, like, I kind of know. Like, I think I remember Katie talking about at one point on her YouTube channel that she likes triangles. I don't know, because I never liked Cam. I think that's the part that's like being like, oh, this is... By the way, they're getting married. It was really cute. She made him birthday cake, which was cute. They had very long sex. But that's something I will have to, like, give Kitty props for a lot in these books, is that when they're steamy, they're, like, super steamy. They're very, like, minimal scenes in between. Like, it's been many, like, 14 chapters or something since the last one. But they're so good when they happen, and this isn't all of her books that are steamy, because not all her books are steamy, but when they do get really steamy, they're good and they're long. Whereas most other books have like 17,000 sex scenes, are very like short. I like the length quite a bit. But they're getting married. That's my update. So for their plan, they have to send someone in to infiltrate and do the whole thing. Obviously, they're trying to figure out who. The suggestions Cam because he knows everybody, but I think they didn't go with Nathan, which I think is a better choice. Okay, so the Cam stuff is settled. Obviously, she chose Reed. That's not really that shocking, but it did settle. Adrian and Cam are now going to Westcott, and that's who's going to trade. They're going to try to do the blood bond breaking as well, and so there's like a lot of things that they're setting up for this big action-packed finale. Anya and Cam are going to get married to unite everybody. That was what was decided as well. So people will be on board with Cam once they two take over this whole, whole situation. Also, we have a warning about Kawa, which, kind of felt that one coming too. Kawa and Adrian have been in cahoots this entire time. That makes everything different for me. Not sure how yet, but I feel like there's more. Just in case it pops up later, Avery is also coming. Avery was the one who was Nathan's old partner. We talked about her back in the first book. Like, it's been so long since this has been a character. She will be here for the finale. I just wanted to put it out there. So they did the blood binding spell to break the blood bind between Cam and Westcott. And they had to kill Nathan, so they murdered Nathan. She got hungry power. She had to take off the necklace that was protecting her from V in order to, like, truly do the damn thing. And now I think she's lost in the space of the void because of how it's being talked about. I'm not 100% sure, so I'll catch you up when I get there. Everybody was there. People were worried because she was very power hungry. So not sure what that means. They really haven't really explored that. We haven't explored that yet, but oof, I'm intrigued. We have less than 100 pages left of the book. I don't know exactly how many is less. Like maybe 80 pages or something. I was right in my idea that she is stuck on the other side. She also found Kawa on the other side. Kawa's been over there for weeks, so we have no idea when she'll get back, but that's what we're dealing with right now. We've been spying on them the whole time. She's pretty sure Westcott knows all about their plan and everything, and now Westcott is at this house with Kawa. They don't know what Cam's doing. He's currently in a wolf form, and Adrian is missing. That's everything so far. Westcott showed up at the place. It ends up being a shadow self. It's the version that they wanted. Kawa is now, like, the other Westcott did something to Kawa, so they won't know she's there. But the only reason why, obviously, we explained the whole reason. Now they're trying to figure out if he can, like, figure out a plan to get them back. So it's the evil version of their mom came and killed the good version of their dad, the shadow, that's on the shadow world. And then they get pushed, they come out of the shadow world. That was really quick. Almost too quick, but the whole ending kind of feels a little rushed in a weird way. I don't know. We still have 15% of the book left, so we'll see how it goes. Now V is inside her shadow self body, or Valerie's inside her shadow self body. V has killed several people, lit the whole place on fire, and done everything else, and now they're trying to kill her, and it's like a whole thing, so we're trying to figure that out. That's, I think, everything. Oh, she also has Reed under mind control. This is a really weird choice of way that she's doing it. So, she got back into her own body, she ended up feeding V. V took over her body for a week. She controlled a lot of people. It was a whole thing. Okay. She murdered Beth, which was Wes's girlfriend. I think she had probably had, like, maybe not much page time, but that's one of the ones that was, like, the biggest one because he is part of the friend group and stuff. I actually think that she was introduced, I think, in the first book, but actually, like, fully introduced in this book. Can't remember. like really minor character murdered. We know that V, like, talked to people, that type of thing. But she keeps blacking out and seeing things that might be real, might not be real. As I'm reading it, and I'm paying attention as I read it, which I normally do other things while I read. I have to pay attention because I'm getting kind of confused because I don't know. I don't feel like, I think there's too much time that's passing and not enough detail. It just feels very confuddled. We'll see as we progress. Still not sure how the train wrecked, but it wrecked. And then now Valerie is captured with Adrian and Cam. Anya saved them out of everybody. Like, okay. And now they're doing a public execution. This is a wild novel. I mean, they've all been wild, but oh my word. Hello. I'm sitting down to read the last 40 pages with you. Live, I tend to do this. This is the type of book that we're updating, which it has been. I have the book. So we're going to read it together, and then I'll update you as I read along. I mentioned the fact that they're going to be hanging people. Well, they brought out everybody they're going to be hanging. So Kala did not win the little battle that V won, or Valerie won. Now I keep calling her V. It's not funny. Daniel, Leaps, St. Jones, Wes, Avery, Fido, and Reed are all there. The whole entire place is under like scrutiny. No one likes the idea of this. No one wants him to go forward with this, but he's doing it anyways. Cam, Anya, and Valerie have to figure out how to fucking handle the situation. I will update you as I go. They're wanting Cam to do the final blow. Oh. So, it looks like Kala maybe actually did beat her thing. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Kala shoved a stake in Westcott's heart. Or chest. And... okay, he's gone. They also brought down the force field. Which I don't think I ever talked about, so maybe it doesn't matter. There's these girls, like a line of like literal children girls, and it's supposed to mean something, and yet I don't remember any. I have no idea. So we're in it together. Oh. Oh, it's Westcott's their half daughter. They're bringing the dead back to life. Oh god. Oh my god. They captured everybody. They're in a circle. Now the Wendigos are moving. For some reason, we're not sure. Oh, the Wendigos are fighting back. It's turning all to ash now because they, like, decay. They all have blood packs, and so every time they go in for, like, a kill or whatever, they end up dying out, and so it's like they're covered in soot now because of it, and now they're about to do something, I'm not entirely sure. They all gather together. What? Okay, so like it says, we're looking at page 392, at least in the Kindle edition. I pace forward at the same time Cal and Adrian Mom do. We join hands and we step through the opening of the Wendigos. Magic buzzes through our joined palms, our different strands collecting and coiling together. I know the moment it's ready, the heat coursing through me, burning almost to the point of pain. Somehow that entire paragraph, they burn him alive. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. He's a vampire. Right. Everybody's alive. Which is weird, because I feel like in this series, I felt that the body count would be so much higher. Not like, I mean, many people died in this thing that happened. Many people. But there was only like a few characters that we knew. Like I was expecting her mom to maybe pass away or get murdered in front of her. Hallie, I was kind of expecting to die. You know, I was thinking maybe Leaf would die because he's such a fan favorite. And that's a good blow to the fans, you know, like a fun one to get us to cry. No, that's here. Which is interesting. Not mad. I like it when my favorites live. Not that, like I'd say Leaf is probably my favorite out of that group that I just mentioned. Oh. Oh. I'm happy we had a little moment with her and her mom. Okay. Can't we not getting the wedding? I'll get back to that. Looks like he's gonna step up to be a bigger leader. Which makes sense, because of Anya and him, so that checks out. Oh. So Cam and Anya getting married. He'll be in North and Eastern Canada. He referenced her as his wife. Are they married? But then again, it opens with, does this make you wish we'd had? We didn't get their wedding? I don't know how I feel about that. I guess that makes sense. I mean, logically it makes sense. Still not sure how I'd be about doing it off camera or off page. Alright, we're in the epilogue. Okay, they're out in the middle of nowhere. In their home. Oh, they got a cat. Pink bell pepper. It's cute. Okay, so they don't have kids. They'll have kids in a few years. I wonder what that means. If there's anything to it. Daniel and Cam are going to be in the same estate. Aww, him and Lee. That's adorable. I want to see what happens next. Maybe the end of Valerie's series with the news on Kim and Anya's story. So you can sign up the newsletter. Book 1 expected to release next year. Good news, I have a bonus scene from Reed's point of view. I'll be able to read my newsletter, find out why Valerie and Reed were really paired together. And more bonus material, and then all the beautiful girls. That's Ruthless Ends. That's the marionettes. I don't know how I feel. So, like, on one note, it was super fun, and I quite enjoyed myself. On another note, I don't think it was nearly as strong as I was hoping it to be. Like, okay, if we're looking at this from, like, the perspective of Katie Weismer, well, as the marionettes, let's talk about the marionettes as a whole. Okay, I only own the first two because by the time the other ones are coming out, I was reading them on my Kindle and just on my Kindle. With that being said, I do own Marionettes and Wicked Souls. There's also Bloodless Ties and Ruthless Ends. I have spoiler reviews for all of them in case you guys are curious. My favorite one out of the series by far is the first one. My second favorite would probably be Wicked Souls. And then it'll probably go Ruthless Ends, and then Bloodless Ties being my least favorite of them all. Just because I always hate a book where the love interests in them are so separated. And also, I will have to say, for a series that I really enjoyed, and I do recommend this series so much. I do recommend it. The writing is phenomenal. It's my top recommendation when it comes to a Katie Weismer, but I do like it very much. Reed's point of view in the third book, as much as people maybe liked it from, like, the little moments. Like, she has a few short chapters and such she's written for bonus books, or bonus scenes, or that type of thing. I don't really think it worked for the main storyline, and that's also part of the reason why I always feel like Bloodless Tides always felt kinda out of place. Overall, like I said, that's my ranking of the series. I think with that being said, this one was a 5. This one was like a poor 4.5. I'd say this is like a 4.25. I still think it's really good. I think it's a good ending, a good conclusion to the series. I still think it's a really good book. I still recommend the series. I had so much fun reading it. Like, enjoyment-wise, it was a 5. It was perfect. But I am looking at from a different standpoint how I will look at all my books, and it's like a 4.25 in reality. And that's a really weird number, but I still had a good time. Like, I had a very fun time. I would read huge chunks. Like, I'm thinking like 140 pages at a time, which is really odd for me nowadays. I mean, I'm reading it all together at once or smaller chunks or whatever, because I have 60 other things I'm going to read. So, like, that alone also is like a very big reason why I recommend this series. That's how I did it for all of these. Once I hit like page 200 in every single book, I had to finish it no matter what. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. We're going to win on 4.25. Thank you for Katie for writing this amazing series. I'm so excited to read Gracie's book whenever it does come out. And I do have a review of Broken Perfect Lies. It's a short review coming up in a video really soon. If not up before this, it's going to come out this month. So that's also very exciting. So we'll be all caught up to date with Katie Weismer reviews, which is exciting. I read every single one of her published works, which is great. That being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll tell you guys next time. If you read this book, if you read this series, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for watching.